Welcome back. We've got Super Bowl fallout, the Nuggets getting disrespected, a degeneracy breakdown, and more. Yes, it is your favorite podcast and ours. My Brother's an Idiot, where we discuss whatever the hell we want because we find it entertaining, and we hope that you do too. Welcome. Short staff tonight. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm King of the Goons. I'll kick you around to, I would say, the rest of the squad, but there's only one of us. The co-brother-in-law, Tank. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Having a decent week, even with the snow.
Yeah, if you don't happen to live in Colorado, we got a little bit of snow today. It started last night and still coming down a little bit out here. South of Denver, it's about 3 inches. Tanks in the Springs, right? Got about 6 inches. Yeah, a whole city shut down. Good times. Well, without three of us and no one to break the tie, it's going to be difficult for us to hopefully maybe not agree. We'll find out. When we talk about the battle of the NBA mascots. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are into the semifinals, the final two pair in each bracket. First matchup, and Tank, I got to say, I think this may be for the whole marbles. Like these were the two that we were hammered on the worst all the way through the bracket. So this might be the actual championship. We'll see. So it's going to be a hard one. Our first matchup, first on the other side, is the Jazz versus the Knicks. Yes, you have music that doesn't belong where they play and pants.
And pants, yeah. Okay, so this is incredibly difficult. Pants are obviously pants. Jazz
pants
is a form of music, and it's not technically a object. I like jazz more than I like pants, I guess. But the Utah Jazz, I think the location kills it. If it was where it was originally from and made sense a little bit, I could see them actually not even being here if it was still, if it wasn't the Utah Jazz. God, that's dumb. Okay, yeah. Because it's so stupid and because they are not where they belong, the Utah Jazz, I think, is worse.
All right, the Utah Jazz. I was leaning towards pants. Because pants. Who's afraid of pants? You can at least turn music up really loud and people will run away. They both. It really is almost a coin toss. Like,
yeah,
it's the Utah Jazz, which makes zero sense. I think you're right. They probably, if they were still in New Orleans, they probably would have made the bracket, but not have made it this far.
Because at least that would have made sense.
Right. And the reason why they've gotten this far is it doesn't make any sense. They literally could have been, the timing wouldn't have worked out, but it would have made more sense for them to be the Lakers. That would have made sense, right? Because they're Great Salt Lake right there. It could have been the Lakers. Man, and I had pants pick going all the way.
I'm willing to concede to pants because pants is equally stupid.
Pants is dumb.
The only reason I lean toward Jazz is because they're in Utah, and that just doesn't make any sense.
So hear me out. They're not just pants, but they're pants that nobody wears anymore.
But yeah, short pants.
Yeah, they're with they tuck them in and they poop out at the knee, and you put them into your socks. And
the stupidest version of pants for sure.
Only one person in recent memory has been able to pull them off, and that was Payne Stewart. May he rest in peace. No one else has ever been able, to my knowledge, wear knickerbockers and make them look even halfway good. And they're pants.
Christian Bale and the Newsies.
That's a period piece, right?
And it fit
it fit right. That fit what they were. The era.
That's about it. Yeah, that's the end. That's the end.
I have come on. You got to come with me. I got to say pants.
All right, I'm going with you on that. That's
All right, we'll go
complete
pants in overtime.
pants. God, that's stupid.
It's stupid pants.
See, and this is the problem because we're kind of giving away the Super Bowl here because
Right. I mean, maybe. I mean, this other one's pretty good too. I have a feeling I know which way this next one's going to go anyway. So it might actually be pretty fun. But so Pants moves on into the finals. We'll do that next time. The final matchup of the semis, you've got the Pistons and the Celtics. Car parts versus mispronounced fabled warriors.
Okay, so even though the name is wrong, I still think that the Celtics should win and therefore not move on.
So you're saying
I believe the Pistons is worse.
Pistons is worse. Car parts.
Yes. and that's the thing is it's a part of a part. A piston by itself can do nothing.
Right. Like we said last week, you could throw them at somebody. That's about
And unfortunately, Celtics is just assholes in Boston fucked up the name of what was a cool thing.
Yeah. Right. And that's kind of why. That's why they've made it this far.
Yeah.
The names just, they're not the Celtics, they're the Celtics. I've never had Guinness at the Celtic pub.
No, that is literally the only variation of that set of letters pronounced in that manner.
Right.
Is in reference to this team.
Right.
So
but if you take what they're referring to, you know, they could do some damage, even if people would laugh and mock them. Yeah. I think it's Pistons.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's surprising, right? As many. Oh, sorry. The hockey game's on, and Sarah's mad. Who's in a fight? Oh, Bo Byram's got it in a fight? Oh, he's up. He's okay. In case you're watching at home, the Avs and the Minnesota Wild are playing right now as we speak. And Mama Sarah is shouting about hockey. You'll probably hear it. All right, so it's next time we meet. Hopefully we'll have a tiebreaker to join us. In case you're joining us late, there's only two of us. Mark is unable, and hope he feels better. It's going to be Jazz versus Pistons for all the marbles. Can you feel the tension, Tank? No, me neither.
It's the worst kind of tension.
It's the worst. It is pants.
Oh,
pants.
man.
I think Pants would beat Celtics, too.
Yeah.
Stupid Pants. All right. That's enough talking about that dumb shit. Let's move on to something else. How about that? Super Bowl. So, in case you were living under a rock, the NFL held their championship game on Sunday. And, Tank, it was a really good game.
Yeah, it actually was.
Not really decided until really the final minute. Kansas City with some next level coaching and all credit to Jerick McKinnon for not scoring when he could have scored and really helped bleed all the time off the clock. But Kansas City won their second Super Bowl of their current iteration. Pat Mahomes wins the MVP. Tank, starting with you here, bud. Break it down and take it away. What happened?
It was a good game, and it started off really good too. The Eagles just marching down the field like no one was there. That was impressive. And honestly, their offense the entire first half, and even part of the second half, that offense kind of proved itself in the biggest stage that they could keep up. And they didn't, weirdly enough, rely heavily on their run game. They did just enough on their run game, and they did it wisely when needed. But a lot of it was on the arm and legs of Jalen Hurts. He was a kind of a one-man wrecking crew for a big chunk of the game.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. And his lone mistake, well, he had 2, but the self sack I don't really count because oh well. The interception was the only thing that really seemingly that he or yeah, no,
You mean when
fumble.
he dropped the ball?
Yeah, the fumble when he just dropped
Yeah.
it. That
Dropped it
was
and scoop and score. I mean, you don't do that, they win the game.
yeah, and that was very unfortunate, especially timing wise. Kind of got Kansas City right back in. And
Mhm.
yeah, like you're saying, Kansas City offense. Mahomes is a great quarterback, and he has some awesome skill players to play with. But I'd say the deciding factor in that game was just the Coach Reed being able to direct that offense and knowing when to do certain things and how to kind of roll that offense out as it went and adjust it as they went. He did a fantastic job in the second half. And I
Yeah,
think that was the deciding factor there.
there was a lot made of how long the halftime was and how they were able to really make adjustments. And I was listening to, I think it was Jeff Legwold talk this week, and he talked about how in the 15-minute halftime that you normally get, there really isn't a whole lot of time for halftime adjustments. Adjustments are kind of overblown in the NFL in the regular season. When you get to the Super Bowl, they can actually do some things.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. I think it's um, the Eagles were outcoached. They if they recognize that fake jet sweep motion the second time and don't give up that second touchdown on the same exact play just on the other side of the field.
Hmm.
Between that, the fumble, they just couldn't do enough
Yeah.
defensively to slow down Mahomes and company. And we talked about it last week. We thought the Eagles' defense was probably going to be key, and we said the game was going to be won or lost in the trenches. They didn't sack Mahomes once. Put him on the
No, and
ground.
they barely
Yeah,
touched him.
yeah. They
They
put
got
him
him
on
a
the
couple
ground.
times,
Yep,
but
got him a couple times, and one of them looked like it hurt a lot, and that was a
oh
big to do
yeah.
in the first half. But they just couldn't get any inside pressure. The outside guys were definitely applying some good pressure, but there was nothing coming up on the inside to really corral Mahomes and make him feel super uncomfortable. He was able to escape, and he played almost a perfect second half. I think he earned that MVP. Credit to him. He had one incompletion in that second half, and the
Yeah.
Eagles just had no answer for what the Chiefs were throwing at him, even if they saw it once already. So definitely
And
think it's an out coaching situation there.
I would say honestly, if the game remained kind of how it did for the first 3 quarters with the Eagles being in the lead, um, and maybe having the ball a little more in the fourth, I think that Jalen would have got MVP deservedly.
Mm-hmm.
It was between the two of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was going to come down to who won the game.
They both played amazingly, and
Mm-hmm.
they just unfortunate mistakes. And I know everyone's pissing in the shoes because there were the penalty at the end of the game. The unfortunate reality is that it did screw up the end of the game. It did. That it caused a situation that we don't like seeing, especially as fans. We do not like seeing a game decided like that. But they did call it accurately. He
Oh, it
had
was a foul.
Yeah, he hooked
Mm-hmm.
him and he pulled on his jersey. That's unfortunately that's the call. That is the correct call. We just don't like it because it happened again at the end of the game. You hate that at the end of the game. I
Right.
would have liked to see the Eagles get one more shot at the ball, maybe, and have the Kansas City defense prove themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never been one to blame an official for anything. I think that's
Mm.
part of the game. You know, they're humans. They call it as they see it. The speed of the game is faster than it's ever been. And we ask a lot, especially of NFL officials, to do it correctly. I think you're right. I think it was the correct call. Don't like seeing it there because it wasn't as egregious as some other holding calls that have been absolutely made over the course of the season.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? Score more points. Don't drop the ball and give them the
Don't
ball back.
fumble.
Don't
Yeah.
fumble. Don't give up a punt return like they give up, right?
Oh
So
god, that
there's
was such a huge
plenty.
return.
Stop the spinny motion play on either side, right? All kinds of opportunities for them to have made plays to have won the game.
Yeah.
They just weren't good enough, and the Chiefs were better.
Yeah, that's all it was.
As
They played a
unfortunate,
more complete game at the end.
yeah, absolutely. Won all three phases. They were better offensively. They were better in special teams, and then they were able to cause the big mistake on defense. So,
And honestly, up until that this has been one of my favorite Super Bowls to watch. It was interesting. It was exciting.
it was a lot of fun. It was absolutely a lot of fun to watch.
Offenses came up with some. And you can't say came up with some amazing stuff because of how many QB sneaks they were. But if you are a fan of the New Heights podcast that the Kelsey's brothers do together, you will often hear Jason Kelsey say it works 92% of the time. So why not do
Yeah, absolutely.
it?
And even when you know they're going to do it, they couldn't stop it.
Oh yeah,
Like they get into a 3rd and 1, you're like, well, this is Jalen twice if they don't get it the first time.
exactly.
And I think one time it was Jalen twice.
That happened. Yeah, that happened. And you can't. And it's unfortunate, especially if you're a fan of the opposing team, because it's like it doesn't matter.
Right.
Chris Jones jumped over the line, caught Jalen in midair, and they still got the first down.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to stop that?
Yeah. It's almost an old-fashioned Pee Wee football wedge play. That's if you coach that right, it's unstoppable, and they had no answer for it. Unfortunately, that was really the only thing the Chiefs didn't really have an answer for as the game wore on. The Eagles were super effective early, definitely throwing the ball a little over the yards they wanted to, but just wasn't enough. And again, to Mahomes' credit, he played almost a perfect second half.
And they were able, surprisingly, honestly, for the Chiefs, they were able to, with decent efficiency, especially in the second half, shut Devontae Smith and AJ Brown down for the most part.
Yep. Heard a lot more from those two in the first half than you did in the second half. So again, halftime adjustments, they were doing something right. So congratulations to the Chiefs. Congratulations to those who are fans of the Chiefs. You are NFL champions. And it sucks. And it sucks.
New season. That doesn't matter anymore.
Right. New season. Well, let's look back a little bit before we look ahead. I know who that is.
Hi, Mama.
Yeah. Go ahead and put that up. Go ahead. Can you I don't know how to do it. Put the comment up. There you go. Mama Sue. Congratulations. Let's look at how this affects the Chiefs' legacy. They've won they've been in 3 Super Bowls now in this current iteration of their dynasty, or their history, I guess you could say. Is it a dynasty, Tank? Are we seeing something building here that could conceivably continue?
I mean, I'd say for at least the next few years, you're not going to see a significant amount of turnover. And seemingly at this point, when you look at the turnover they have had, they're able to adjust. They're able to incorporate new players. They brought in 2 new receivers this year, and both of them fit in. They brought in a new running back, and he seems like he's going to be a workhorse for the future. That offensive line is relatively young. Obviously, the quarterback's still pretty young. If you keep the coaching staff mostly intact the way that it is, I mean, yeah, I see them at the very least making another Super Bowl in the next couple of years, if not winning another one. I don't know if I'd necessarily see the dominance of the Patriots winning 6 in whatever 20 years or whatever it was, but them getting 3 or 4 out of this group, yeah, I could see that happening pretty easily.
3 or 4 more, or 3 or 4
No,
total?
total.
I think, and we talked about it a little bit over the course of their run uh, into the Super Bowl, and certainly last week. A lot of this really is Travis Kelce.
Oh
Um, and we said they needed to have an answer for him, right? They needed to be able to corral him, and they couldn't. He scored. He was dominant early. Problem with Kelce is he's going to be 34 this year.
yeah.
Um, how much longer is he going to be able to perform at that level? And now you have to replace that production with someone just as dominant in order to take the pressure off of the receivers, right?
And that's the biggest part. Can you find someone just as dominant? There is maybe 3 tight ends in the entire league that could potentially do that. That's it. There's 3. And the youngest one is Andrews. But for them, their offense is kind of iffy. So even him trying to get to that point where he's putting up that kind of numbers is difficult. And then the other one we saw in the same game, and that's Goddard.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that he can get open, he can catch anything. He was injured this year. The one thing I can say with Kelce's consistency though is he doesn't take a lot of big hits. He tends to be able to get down or get open and catch where he's not going to just get smoked out of nowhere, which is a huge thing for your long-term health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's why he's been at this point, 34 years old.
Right.
There's not a lot of tight ends that play deep into their even early 30s. So the fact that he's 34 and he's probably got 3-4 more years in him, maybe.
Yeah, the problem with tight ends is, as you know, they're not just receivers, and Kelce blocks a lot, so there's a lot of that contact that happens too, and that's a lot of wear and tear as well. 4 years might be pushing it. He might stick around that long. I don't know if he's going to have the ability to even be as effective and be the best tight end of the game for 4 years. It could be 1 or 2 because when the bottom falls out. For a tight end in this league, it falls out.
Rapid.
Yeah, it's rapid because of all of the skills, right, that it entails to play the position. You have to be a receiver, you have to be a good blocker, or one or the other. But he's a complete player. He's an excellent blocker, and he's an excellent receiver. And he's
not even as a tight end, he's an excellent receiver.
Yeah, he's just an excellent receiver
in general. Yeah,
absolutely. So, in terms of their legacy, I think this cements them to being one of the all-time great teams. They've got 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, 2 of them. This is a once in a generation team that's been put together. Can they continue? I guess it's up. We'll see. We don't know what's going to happen. So,
and they do have a couple decent backups. I think Jonas Gray could potentially turn into a similar style as Kelce. I don't know if he's going to be as good, but he does seem to be being treated that way. Like he's being kind of groomed to be that next all-star tight end for them. So we'll see what happens, I guess, with that.
Yeah, but there's otherworldly talent. And then
it's not. I don't think it's going to be to the same level. If they're going to get to the same level, they're going to need to bring someone else in. There's a couple people. I mean, Kittle could potentially get to that level if he has the right quarterback and the right system. Pitts, if he had a decent quarterback throwing to him, could get to that point. There's a few guys that are up and coming.
Kyle Pitts is the one I think that has got the biggest upside and the most potential to be that guy. But because, again, you said it, he doesn't have anybody throwing him the football. They haven't really figured out how to use him. Who knows what's going to happen? Because, being a receiver is a quarterback-dependent position. I mean, you have to have proficiency at the quarterback spot in order to have any production out of the guys catching the football.
Who's their new guy? Desmond Ridder, right? That's their guy that they got last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe he turns into something. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, who knows? It's a coin toss. It's really a crapshoot when you're talking about drafting players. So they may have their guy, they may not. I do also want to call out that wasn't Mama Sue. That was Papa Mac who said "Go Chiefs."
Ah,
So we still haven't heard from her yet.
hopefully she's sleeping.
Yeah, it's late. Go to bed. All right. Moving on from the actual game itself, we'll talk about what happened between the whistles. What was your favorite commercial, Tank?
God, I think my favorite one, outside of I love obviously the movie commercials because those are always really cool when they drop, but I'm not going to include those in this. That's a separate thing, I think. I think my favorite one was the Ram 1500 ED commercial, essentially, that they ran. And it just had me cracking up the entire time that it was running, and I could not tell what it was until the end, and I was like, "Oh, this was a car commercial. Wow."
The best part about that commercial is they do all that stuff, and it was great to watch. And they had all those movie call outs or whatever.
Mm,
Coming in 2024. Like,
mm.
bro.
Yeah. Exactly.
My favorite one, and it certainly got us at the place I was at, was the Tubi commercial where it made it look like someone sat on the remote and started
I deleted
changing all
Tubi
the.
after that commercial. That genuinely made me mad.
Did it get you guys too?
Oh, 100%. There's Mama Mac. Hi, Mama.
There we go.
No, that got us 100%. We were all looking around like, where is the remote? Neither of the kids have it. What happened?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So funny. So funny. It got us.
Oh, yeah. The timing was perfect. It just irritated me greatly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that was our favorite commercial. Let's move on to our degeneracy breakdown. Tank, you had a good week.
Yeah. I went 4 for 4.
Yeah,
somehow.
4-0. KC to win, over 50.5. Kelsey and Jalen to score. Now, did you put your money where your mouth is, and did you bet any of that?
I didn't. I considered it, and when I considered it, and it made me angry. At the end of the game, I was like, I went 4 for 4, and I did not put a dime on that.
Right.
And I was like, I wish so badly that I would have put money on that.
Gotta do
Because
it.
holy crap.
You lose by
Throw
default.
a little 4-piece parlay and make a little money out of it.
Yeah, that could have made you a little bit of scratch for $5.
Maybe next year I'll just trust myself when I make a call like that. And
yep, you were the big winner of the predictions. Mark had Kansas City to win. He had the over at 50.5. He had Kelsey as the MVP, which is a bit of a flyer. He had the opening kickoff not to be a touchback, which did not happen. And tails did not fail. He did win tails. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. He went 3 for 2, 3 and 2. He was 3 for 5. Yep. I had the Eagles to win and Pacheco to score in tails. So I was 2 for 1. All in all, not a bad week in degeneracy.
Recently.
And as we tell you every week, you should never listen to anything that we ever say in betting because we're terrible at it. This was a fluke.
Very rarely should you take other people's advice on gambling of any kind.
Right. Because if they were so good, they would just go make money on it on their own.
Yeah. It's very rare that you'll see.
Yep.
There's people that are, 50+%, but it's hard to see anyone that doesn't just break even most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to do. So, well, good job by us. We'll do some more degeneracy over the course of the off season, and maybe
we'll find some other stuff to bet on.
Yeah, we'll always find other stuff to bet and talk about. Bet a shilling or two here and there in a hockey game. Who knows? All right. Well, looking ahead into the offseason, which we just mentioned, free agency starts in about a month. Tank, the Broncos list of unrestricted and restricted free agents is out. has been published at denverbroncos.com. Please go ahead and take a look at that. Anybody on this list, first of all, let's go to the unrestricted free agents. So we're not going to go through all of them. But is there anybody on this list that you want not to come back?
That I want not to come
Not
back?
to come back. Anyone that you're like, nah, that guy can pound sand. And it, the lower tier guys and that, that bottom 10 or 15 of the roster that changes over every year, people that, we could talk about Tom Compton, but nobody knows who that is. So, if there's any notable names on the list, I know you know who Tom Compton is, but Joe Blow football fan was like, who's that? Right.
Out of these, I'd say that we don't need all three of the what seemingly are ineffective tight ends to return. Because they didn't really do much the last few years. These guys have been on our roster for a few years, and Saubert gets something every once in a while. Beck is basically just the fullback now. And I don't know if I've heard Tomlinson's name more than once in the last 2 seasons.
I think he caught a couple of balls. That's about it. He's a backup.
So I think maybe kind of trying to find a new tight end might be a better option in this scenario.
Well, they've got two.
Yeah.
One's really good, as long as he can stay healthy, and it really has shown a lot of potential, and that's Dulcich. And when Hackett finally went away and they started using Okwuegbunam, he was mildly effective. So
he was effective last year too.
Right. I don't know what he did to piss somebody off, but
apparently,
there were games he didn't even. There were games he didn't even dress, and he turns up to be mildly effective the last 3-4 games of the season. So I don't know if you're necessarily looking to cement the position with giant talent, but there's definitely going to be guys. They need
the guys that we have. Like you just said, Dulcich is going to be. He looks dynamic. He looks like he could be something. Make him a bigger part of the game plan.
Mm-hmm. I think Beck comes back, like you said. He's a tight end / fullback. Definitely much more of a blocker. Plays more fullback.
Yeah,
we'll see some. I think more of that in the next season or so. The guy, and it hurts me to say, I'm not sure if I want Dalton Reisner back. He's had 2 straight seasons of regression. Now, especially this last year, he wasn't very good. But that could very well be coaching. We saw what happened when Jer Bear took over. He fired the offensive line coach, who clearly did not need to be an offensive line coach. So
that was bad.
Yeah, that was awful. So if they see something that we don't, or because they're in the building every single day and can make a case for keeping them and can turn them back into an effective player, I say yes, absolutely. But purely based on performance, he may price himself out because of his ability and the ceiling that he's got, and the way he has played in the past. If he could recapture some of that, he can make $4 or $5 million, and I'm not sure if they're willing to pay him that.
Well, and you're right. Like, should they be at this point? He had 2 years, and yes, this year was kind of a weird. I'd say a kind of a throwaway year for most of our offense when it came to determining how effective they are, because the entire offense was ineffective for most of the year.
Right.
And how much can you chalk that up to individual performance versus coaching? You might be right. Reisner might price himself out. And honestly, he didn't have a good year last year, and that was with a good offensive line coach.
Right. I do know he's definitely thinking he's not going to be back. Just by chance, I happen to follow his wife on TikTok because I get glimpses into their life, and it's interesting. And they're definitely talking on TikTok about looking forward to the next adventure and seeing what's coming next and not playing here anymore, stuff like that. So, best of everything to both of them. I absolutely harbor no ill will towards Dalton Reisner. He's a Colorado kid. Love the story of him coming out, played at Wiggins. If he prices himself out, hope he plays really well, and I hope he has a super long career and does what we all thought he could do. And it'd be sad if he doesn't happen to do it here. Guys that you want to come back for sure, and I'm going to start this one off. They absolutely have to keep Alex Singleton. He was a monster at that inside
Singleton?
linebacker. Yeah, monster
Oh, yeah.
at that inside linebacker position. Led the team in tackles, had 160 something tackles this year. I mean, he was just unbelievably good, and really one of the shining stars in a defense that had a lot of shining stars, honestly. I mean, they played really well this year, and he came literally out of nowhere. I mean, most Bronco fans had never heard of him, and he had a great season. So I think they absolutely have to keep him. I would also like to see them keep Latavius Murray, just so you've got that veteran voice and steady production in that room. They're going to have to make changes. They're going to have to bring in some more talent. We've heard whispers of Josh Jacobs being available and potentially coming here. I don't know if that's just rumor, innuendo, or someone just throwing a theory out on Twitter. That would be a hell of a move, pairing him up with Javonte, because we don't know what Javonte is really going to look like year one after an ACL. But I think Latavius did enough to earn a job at his age. Is it going to be a thing that they're going to want to do? Who knows? But I would like to see him come back. The other one who I think will come back unless he retires is K-Jax. I think Kareem Jackson is a guy, a steadying force. He also plays with an edge, super physical. Also is relatively cheap at a safety position. They don't ask him to do a lot besides fly around and crush people.
Yeah.
Anybody on that list you also would like to see come back?
You took my number one, which was Latavius. I think, especially if he goes team friendly, he's getting up there, but we'll give him some time and some opportunity. And you're right. If we can get Javonte back to full strength, pairing those two up would be pretty impressive, honestly. I think if we have the right scheme for them, and obviously, Latavius has experience with our new head coach, coming from New Orleans, so they know each other well. So if I'm assuming that decision's probably already been made on whether or not he's coming back. We'll just have to see it actually play out. And I would like to see, we're just doing unrestricted first, right?
Yeah, we won't even touch restricted because that's
okay.
Really, that list isn't that great. I mean, there's not a lot there.
No, the only person on unrestricted I'd like to see potentially Jonas Griffith and Waitman back, but that'd be about it. Billy Turner, I'd like to see him come back. I think Turner, especially in the right system, is a very good tackle. And if you put him in the right system and you give him just give him a chance to do it, he's a very effective tackle, and that's something we kind of need. Especially this year, we saw how weak our offensive line, not only the starting line, but depth line, was pretty ineffective most of the time. And we had our running backs and quarterbacks running for their lives way too often.
Right.
But yeah, that'd be it for me.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to talk about, there are two names on this list. I think they're going to be able to keep one of them. They're both on the defensive line. You've got Deshaun Williams and Draymond Jones. Both of them have been effective. Both of them have played pretty well. I don't know that the money's going to work to keep them both. If I had to pick one, I would think Deshaun. But Draymond's been able to get a little bit of pressure here and there. It's been kind of tough sledding, especially after they got rid of Chubb, but could be something there.
Think that Draymond has the higher ceiling as a rusher, but I think I like Williams a little bit more, just stuffing up the middle of the field. So I'd probably lean towards Williams on that also.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're a month away. We'll see what's going to happen. Free agency is always one of my favorite times of year. And,
oh, yeah. I love it.
It's a blast. Well, that's enough of the depressing NFL stuff. Flush that season. Go Broncos. And we'll move on to other stuff. And more stuff for us to get pissed off about, Tank. Oh, what do you got?
You want to mention the 2 new coaches or 3 new coach changes that
Oh, yeah.
occurred over the last couple days. We have
Yep.
what was it? Gannon is going to the Cardinals,
Yep.
and Stetchen is that his name?
Steichen.
Steichen
Yep.
is going to take over the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
And then late news, Callis is going to what did I forgot it
Tampa.
already. Yes, Callis is going over to Tampa to help, I'm assuming, develop a new quarterback
Yeah, because they don't have one.
as the OC over there. Yeah, they don't have anybody right now. So those are 3 kind of not out of nowhere, but very late information during the lead up to the Super Bowl, and they came true. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So all the head coaching slots going into hiring season have been filled.
Yep.
Definitely some coordinators and whatnot, and we'll discuss rumors and innuendo the next time. We'll probably have some coordinators here to talk about. One that could be really interesting just to have fun with. But we'll do that on the next one. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to the NBA. And like I said, stuff for us to get pissed off about. The Nuggets have been just disrespected in terms of bringing people into the All-Star festivities. Joker is the only Nuggets All-Star actually playing in the game. And I think, Tank, that's a slap in the face of one Aaron Gordon. I don't think that Jamal had done enough late enough to be able to do it for the entire season to earn a spot. So I get that. But AG's been playing out of his damn mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit disrespectful, but to be 100% honest, when isn't it? When it comes to the Nuggets, how many All-Stars do we ever put out?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they deserve it.
Well, the only time it seems they get in is when they absolutely, positively, 100% can't get left off.
Yeah.
And, I get it. There's only so many spots, but AG's been fantastic this year. And you said it before. He's playing like the player that Orlando drafted. And he is legitimately a top 15 player in this league, I think, right now.
Yeah, he's playing like the guy that was promised.
Mm-hmm.
He's been super effective. 17 points a game, 7 rebounds, usually a couple assists at least. And how he got left off, I don't really understand, but you just got to get used to it when you live in the middle coast.
Mm-hmm. When you live in Denver, nobody likes Denver. And the other real slight, and this one actually I think maybe upsets me a little bit more, KCP being left out of the 3-point contest.
What the hell on that one? Why? Let him have it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What
he's been in the lead in close to or at the lead in 3-point completion percentage all year. And you could say, well, Matt, he doesn't take a lot. You know what? He's taken 236 3-point shots. That's a lot.
And he's efficient.
Mm-hmm. And when you're the 5th option of the starters,
exactly,
offensively, you're getting that kind of efficient production. I think that deserves to get recognized. And nope, Nuggets, go screw yourself.
And I guess it's just because he's not flashy. He only gets 10, 11, 12 points, somewhere in that region, usually a game. But still, he's efficient with the ball. At least give him a shot at the skills competition. I'm not saying to make him an all-star.
No, not at all. I think he deserves to be in the 3-point competition.
Give him the chance to show the skills that he can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just gross negligence by the I don't know, I guess the voters, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know who selects the skills competition, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a voting thing or if that's just the NBA picking people. And it's probably just the NBA picking people like, he plays for Denver. That's just Joker.
Yeah, that's Joker, and that's what it is. Everyone just because he's so good and so just undeniable at this point that he doesn't. No one else gets credit for who's around him, but he's he has good players finally around him that are consistent, and they need a little bit of shine too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing what happens when they actually get their talent back and when
Mhm.
they get the guys who have been on this team who have been able to perform at a very high level and now they're doing it consistently. What happened? They're number one in the West, the
Mhm.
best team in the West. And then you get guys like Ja running his mouth. Oh, I don't fear anybody in the West. Bro, you're not going to make it out of the first round. Let me just explain something to you right now. Your team's game is iso ball and running, and that's not going to fly in the playoffs. It's a half court game. You're not set up for it, bro.
So not a fan of John
I,
Morant apparently.
am a little bit. I'm a little bit over his act. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit over his posse's act. Right? I mean, it's just I a fantastic player, amazing talent, an automatic bucket. He's made out of springs and slinkies, like jump way out of the gym, and he makes a just an eye-catching highlight play. It seems night in and night out. You're a second-year player, man. You haven't won anything yet. I think you should maybe throw some respect around when you're not even in first place in your conference.
Yeah, he talks a little too much at this point.
Right.
No undeniable skill. And they do have a decent team with Jaren Jackson and Dylan Brooks over there and all that, but you guys haven't won anything either. So maybe make it, talk your talk on the court because the only way we're going to match up is if we both run the bracket. So,
Right.
prove it. Prove it on the
Mm-hmm.
court.
Yep. We'll see what happens. All right,
Hmm.
that's enough. That's enough about the NBA. We'll talk more about how the Nuggets are looking after the All-Star break, especially with the addition of one Reggie Jackson that was finally announced. Today?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be good. But we'll talk more about that on another episode. Moving on to the NHL, just when we thought the Abs were getting out of the injury chaos that they've been in, now Cale Makar has a concussion.
Yeah.
EJ is out indefinitely. We were at the game last night,
Hmm.
and we were listening to post game, and someone asked Jared on the post game interview if there was any update on EJ, and he said it's weeks and it's indefinitely.
That's so unfortunate.
It's a broken foot, and EJ his history is nothing but ankle and foot injuries. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a rafters guy. I mean, when it's all over, his name is going in the rafters, right? They are going to put him up on a banner. And it's sad that, I'm glad he got the one cup run that worked out really well for him because he'd been here through thick and through thin. And I just hope that he gets healthy enough to come back for the playoffs. But man, between not having Makar and not having EJ on the blue line, well, it was a little bit dicey last night, let me tell you.
Yeah, and future prospects are dicey at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Right. I will say
'Cause-
this, they played the Lightning severely undermanned. So EJ's out, Makar's out, Helm is out, Manson's out. Manson's back tonight, thank
Yeah,
God. So that'll bolster that blue line a little bit. They still lost in a shootout to a big physical team.
Stupid Lightning.
Yeah, right. In the overtime, it looked a little bit disjointed, and I've got one real concern. There's something, and Mark called it that Sammy Girard, there's something not right with him. I don't know if it's physical. He looks tentative. He looks unsure of himself. I've never been a giant Sammy G fan. Obviously, root for him and cheer for him when he does well, but he's not got the right size to play on the blue line. I think he'd be much better as a fourth line forward, but whatever. I don't sign contracts. He definitely did not look right. The other thing I saw that was super interesting, and I'm sad that Mark's not here. Curtis McDermott was playing PK2 last night. Every single time they went on the penalty kill. They throw out that first unit, they do their thing, throw out the second unit, and here comes Derby. It was awesome.
You know what? It's not a horrible idea to put him on the PK2 just because he can be that enforcer presence. But you're right about Sammy. He's not, and the biggest thing that you're seeing with him, he plays kind of a wild style. He's very, moves a lot, very, and like you said, he looks like he's Bambiing it out there on the ice right now. Like he's not sure what's going on.
I didn't see him. Go ahead.
I think you're right on mental. Something's up in his head.
I didn't see him pinch a whole lot. I didn't see him, jump into the play. I don't even know if he had a shot. He may have had one. But, let's be honest. Everyone's got that depth part of their bench, and none of those players are going to be super talented. And Curtis McDermott falls squarely into that range, right? Everyone's bottom, their seventh defenseman, which is what McDermott is. He when all six are healthy, he's not going to play unless they need him on the fourth line.
Unless they need to hit, and they need him to go out there and hit somebody, basically.
Right. And you know who started the fight last night? JT Compher started the fight last night.
Of course he did.
Somebody ran, I think it was Killorn. He ran over Georgiev, and Compher just went right at him. Took a couple of shots, big right cross, and dropped him right to the ice. It was awesome. Like, you don't do that, bro. Weird.
That's not your game.
Yeah, right. Come on. You got a guy that does that for us. Let him. I don't think Derby was on the ice. So we'll have to see. It sounds like Makar is going to come back in the next week or so. He's technically day by day, but he's got to go through the process, right? It's a concussion. He said, in a rare bit of clarity around an injury. Bednar has said it's a head injury, so we know it's a concussion. In the NHL, it's upper body, lower body.
And they specified it last week that it was a head injury, and we kind of knew it's like, okay,
yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. In a rare slice of clarity.
Yeah, you don't see them call out
head
injuries like that normally. So he must have really got dinged up pretty decently to actually not only call that out, but then kind of accept sit and bench for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Score update, by the way, if you're watching at home, the Avalanche are beating the Wild 2-0. Little over 5 minutes gone in the second period.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Babe, is Dermy playing? Have you seen Dermy? I have not seen Dermy. We introduced her to the glory of Dermy at the game last night. Dipshit and Dipshit's mom came with us. We were talking about her. But before we get out of this thing, I do want to tell you one story. So we're sitting behind the penalty box, and you can see across to the benches, right? And there was a lady sitting behind the Avalanche bench that had this Kermit doll. There's just a Kermit doll with an Avalanche shirt on it. And I was like, why does she have a Kermit doll? We couldn't figure it out. Well, they put it up on the big screen. It's a Kermit doll wearing a McDermott sweater.
Oh, my God.
Kermie McDermott.
That's fantastic.
It was so good.
Love it.
Oh, so good. So good. We love Curtis McDermott. Man's just a nuclear weapon. Just keep him on the end of the bench. Don't screw around because he's going to come after you.
That's great.
Oh, so good. All right. Before we do socials and pimping things, and we're going to get out of here in under an hour, which is unusual for us. Tank, you got any final thoughts?
At this point, settling into hockey and basketball, and we got spring training coming up, and I believe it's actually starting this week for baseball. So no, football's over, but we got plenty to watch still. So keep myself active in that manner as much as I can.
There you go. We would like to give a shout out to Gene Mingo. As always, we'd love to talk to you on the air.
Yes,
And
please
please,
come on.
it'd be awesome. He'd love to talk to Gene Mingo. That'd be awesome. Kidding. And with the impending beginning of baseball season, that means we'll also warm up the Spiders Cup.
Oh God, yes.
See who can take that one home.
A team that gave away a Hall of Famer for some
Yep.
reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Tank, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me obviously here with the Idiot Brothers. You can find me on NTK. You can find me on everywhere else at Tank Knox or Knox Nostalgia Collectibles.
Awesome. You can find My Brother's an Idiot on Facebook. Just search My Brother's an Idiot. You'll see the black logo. That's us. We'll get you in. At the Idiot Goons on Twitch and Twitter. Mark's Twitter is at Poffeltime. My Twitter is at Puffalopagus. You can also find me on the TikTok at King Goon Smoke. A little bit of hockey last night. Posted with some fun stuff there. And pretty much that's all we got, brother. Look at that. 55 minutes and something seconds. That's pretty good.
All right.
Right?
Good night.
Yeah, for Tank, the absent Mark, the absent Dipshit, and the absent Milty, we love you guys. This has been My Brother's an Idiot. We'll catch you next time.